Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. We're going to be reading the last few pages in letter 7 in Jesus Christ, the Christ Letters, the Truth. And as I always do, I'll remind you what the contents of letter 7 are. Christ describes the truth concerning the sexual act, what really takes place spiritually and physically, how children are born on different levels of consciousness. He explains men and women's place in the world order. Okay. A miserable entity dwindles and dies. A happy entity flourishes. This is a basic fact of existence. In the final analysis, each living entity feeds upon its own inner state of contentment or frustration. You can see the truth of this statement in the physical and consciousness development of a baby. A contented, happy child flourishes, laughs easily, is filled with joy. Contact with a loving mother enhances the child's well-being. The loving, contented radiations from mother to baby feed the little one's consciousness radiations and in turn build up strength in the tiny body. As the child develops, its developing personality begins to color its soul radiations with bright or dark consciousness force, which either reinforce the child's health or depletes it. A person with a strong psychic sense can see the electromagnetic fields becoming dim when an individual or animal is being depleted of field energy, although at the time, neither individual nor animal may be registering physical dis-ease. It may be a day or so before the body itself begins to manifest the consciousness energy depletion in some form of exhaustion or illness. You have on Earth people who have developed equipment to record this phenomenon, and in years to come, this will be the recognized method of diagnosing and treating an oncoming ailment. Furthermore, as the technology of spiritual scientific knowledge evolves, the exact mental/emotional state responsible for the physical depletion will be first revealed under hypnosis and recorded electronically in frequencies of vibration on screens. This will be followed by an electronic investigation depicting the frequencies of vibration of the various parts of the body on similar screens. This process will involve color changes, for every pattern of consciousness is first manifested both in frequencies of vibration and color. By comparing the mental/emotional frequencies of vibration with the frequencies of vibration of the body parts, the organ depleted of energy, together with the mental/emotional cause, will be pinpointed. No longer will psychiatrists delve into past experiences, probing, pigeonholing, producing pronouncements as to the likely origins or causes of mental/emotional/physical disorders, and then providing human rationalizations with which to combat them. The truth of the spiritual state of the inner man will be clearly revealed and will lay the sure foundation for the necessary spiritual instruction and meditative mental work to be done to enable him to regain health, vitality, new perspectives and goals, and a deepening capacity for unconditional love. Naturally, drugs will no longer be used to raise the consciousness radiations of the sufferer, since the depletion of divine life, soul energy, is responsible for the illness. He or she will be taught how to deliberately, systematically raise the frequencies of vibrations of the affected area of the body, and how to deal with the personal circumstances causing the psychological discomfort and depletion of soul energy. The patient will also be dramatically assisted by an inflow of divine energy from the hands of those who are true channels of pure spiritual life. With the revitalizing procedures, new perceptions and control of the ego drives The physical condition will be quickly cleared up within days, if not immediately. However, on reading these letters, you can begin to effect your own healing. Paramount in your self-treatment must be these instructions regarding the divine reality powering existence, and the right way to tune into it and draw divine life into the healing process. When you begin to draw on the life of the divine reality by means of your spiritual search, asking questions, meditating, reading, and praying, you begin to open your psyche up from its enclosed ego consciousness, earthly dreaming. You draw into mind and emotions the nature of the divine reality itself. All that passes through your mind and emotions is passed into the electromagnetic fields surrounding you. These contribute to your strength. As your electromagnetic fields are energized by the power you draw from divine reality, so is the power passed back into your physical body, and each organ becomes ever more healthy, and any dysfunctions are gradually cleared up. It is vital for you to remember these physical/electromagnetic field processes, because the knowledge will both inspire and encourage your daily meditation and attunement with the divine reality. If your sincere search and meditation are directed towards the truth of being and not at some earthly religious forms of belief or superficial spurious spirituality or any material objects you believe to possess powers, you will find that gradually your own nature is changing and you begin to be aware of otherness and their needs as you never did before. You become more empathetic, understanding, caring, compassionate, and gentle. In fact, the soul qualities of divine life now begin to control your natural ego impulses for satisfaction and self-defense. I want to warn you that you will have now entered a new and difficult time. An era of conflict between the ego drive, which has habitually insisted on fulfilling its wants, perhaps at the expense of other people, and the psyche soul, which is beginning to realize that love is the law, and the rights of other people have to be balanced equally with the rights of self, the ego. As the psyche absorbs more and more of the soul, divine reality, into its consciousness, the old ego drive begins to realize its grasp, and the inner daily conflict becomes even more intense. The psyche soul, now working through your mind and heart, discovers it is balancing the needs of other people against the validity of its own needs, and it becomes weighed down and weary of the endless internal struggle of self-questioning and self-judgment. When the psyche is reaching this point of perception, it indicates that the pull of the human consciousness is thinning to such an extent that the soul is now drawing close to and becoming reunified with the divine reality. The soul acknowledges through the medium of the psyche that it loves the divine love, that it is the divine reality, more than it loves anything earthly, and longs to be fully united with its source of being. The psyche finally surrenders the ego consciousness drives to divine reality and begs that it may be enabled to yield the ego, to go through the death of the selfhood. This happens when people are truly reaching the apex of their spiritual life, and they usually need a spiritual master to guide them through it. This death of the selfhood should never be undertaken as a means of achieving greater spiritual insight. It is highly dangerous and will not succeed in achieving greater spiritual or earthly life. It will be greatly destructive to the psyche and ego before due time. It will hinder the whole process of soul, psyche, ego, physical development. No one should entertain such a thought in order to be more advanced in spiritual perception and truth. Such an act of willpower will be self-defeating, since it is born entirely of the ego drive to be more important spiritually. When this experience of ego mastery takes place at the right time, in the right way, the soul, through the medium of the psyche, is free, to a large extent, to commune direct with the divine reality, since the continual chatter of the ego consciousness is stilled. The pull of the earth is no longer paramount. Self-centered ambition fades. The desire for personal possessions dissolves. Peace reigns in the mind. The soul, now speaking clearly through the psyche, longs to uplift, nourish, contribute to the growth of other souls, educate, uplift, and nurture with understanding and tenderness, without any desire for recompense or self-aggrandizement. As the soul is drawn into ever closer contact and attunement with divine reality, its only earthly goal is to treat the neighbor or other people with the same kind of concern and consideration it needs for itself to flourish and to be content. Giving becomes as easy as breathing. Eventually, it becomes a privilege to work for and with other people for the promotion of their highest good. This is divine love in action. However, there is no sentiment in divine reality. The intention behind individualization was to enable divine reality itself to experience its own nature of creativity, joy, and personal fulfillment. Therefore, when I was on earth, I drew the lines between giving and receiving quite clearly when I said, "Do unto others what you would have them do to you." This statement was a loving warning that as you sow, so will you reap. It was also a guideline to behavior. If you do unto others what you would like done to yourself, then you can be sure that you are acting only from the standpoint of love. If other people do not want what you would like done for you, then you live by trial and error. You have taken a positive step towards fulfilling an act of true love, and if it is rejected, you have given yourself an opportunity to find out what would be more greatly appreciated in the future. In this way do you grow in the act of love. I also said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. This meant that you should have equal concern for your neighbor's comfort as you have for your own. It also means that whatever you wish onto other people, you would be happy to have wished on yourself in like manner. It means that you must think the thoughts about others which you would be happy for them to think about you. It means that your entire consciousness should be directed at caring, concern for others, no matter what they may be doing hurtful against yourself. All human beings are living in a jungle of human desires, goals, frailties, disappointments, anger, and frustration. Out of this war-torn consciousness come many weak and ill-judged responses and actions. Therefore, behold the frailty, forgive the unkindness, and let go back into the nothingness out of which it came. The only truth and reality in your life is divine consciousness, intelligence/love. Hold fast to this realization at all times. To find the kingdom of heaven in which the soul is in harmony with divine reality, there must come a time in your development when you no longer want to be drawn into the earthly perceptions and consciousness of human beings towards each other. You long to withdraw entirely and focus on spreading your own contact with divine reality to others. Beware that you do not force your spiritual way on others, irrespective of whether or not they are on the spiritual path themselves. At the same time, you must preserve your own serenity by not allowing others to take advantage of your good nature. You must clearly draw your lines of right and wrong. Prevent the selfishness of others encroaching on your privacy, which is likely to destroy your peace of mind. To ensure this, there is no need for your ego consciousness to assume dominance again. You can guard your privacy peacefully. You have been given the intelligence to achieve this necessary purpose with the highest degree of love. Remember that the spiritual edifice of consciousness vibrations, which have been constructed out of your contact with divine reality and your daily mode of thought, feeling, and living, should be sacrosanct. And you have to take care not to become entrapped again in the lower vibrations of others' thoughts and reactions. Sacrosanct, I believe it is, sorry. At all times, your highest purpose on earth is to promote the highest earthly and spiritual good of every other living entity, human and lesser, not by descending to the vibratory level of those in need, but by reaching out and offering the wisdom which has brought you into your sanctuary, your holy of holies in mind, emotion, and living conditions. If there is a willingness to listen and accept, otherwise, hold your peace. Sympathy and compassion should be detached. Empathy will drag you down and embroil your spiritual consciousness vibrations in the human vibrational level. This will possibly create conflicts where you had sincerely only intended to uplift and heal. Avoid this since it will deplete your energies and defeat your spiritual purposes. That's going to be quite difficult for many people, myself included. Pure love is concerned only with upliftment and spiritual progress, healing and achievement of the kingdom of heaven. Divine love is a warm, compassionate feeling, primarily charged with the longing to enable the loved one to grow, create, be nourished and nourish others, to be healed and to heal others, to educate and educate others, to protect and protect others, to fulfill his needs and for him to fulfill the needs of others, all within a clear system of law and order. This is divine love/law in action. When your highest purpose has become the divine purpose in action, the ego, the nucleus of your individuality, is now controlled by your soul. The ego drive becomes your true defender and true protector of your personal comfort, but it now works entirely in harmony with the directives of your soul, which draws its nature from divine reality. I repeat, there is no sentiment in divine reality, no removing any boundaries and shoring law and order to suit the demands of the egoist, no weak giving in and yielding to the obstinacy of others. At all times, it must be borne in mind that all people should respect one another. They must respect the rights of others to privacy, safety, peace of mind, and harmony. If differences arise, they can be dealt with mutual respect. The more spiritually evolved you are, the more you will respect the highest and the lowest of social stratas, accounting them to be equal, not in the sight of God, as human beings like to say, but within your own spiritualized perceptions of the fundamental equality of the souls within all beings. Respect and divine love belong together. True love is highly respectful of the beloved. One second here. Sorry. Now I just lost my place. I'm so sorry. Where there is respect between two people, this frequently leads to the highest form of love. If you have found this letter difficult to accept, remember that the human mind is limited in its understanding of dimensions beyond the earthly plane. Do not let the reasoning of the ego hold you back from your soul's journey. In my next letter, I will develop the theme of divine love and will enlarge on ego self-love, showing you exactly how the magnetic emotions are presently controlling your thoughts, feelings, and lives. I will outline the steps by which they can be overcome and eventually dissolved from your consciousness. My purpose is to lead you along the path of self-discovery and spiritual advancement, that you may enter immediately into light, not only when you pass on into the next dimension of existence, but also whilst you are here on earth. At the moment, you are living in a shadowy, burdened existence instead of consciously living within and entering into the divine consciousness and allowing it to permeate and gladden your thinking and your life experiences. Know that my Christ consciousness is with you always, and you can have immediate access to me when you call. Let this be a comfort to you, but not a crutch. I am but your gateway to your own illumination and your own ascent into Christ consciousness yourself. All right. That completes letter 7. And in letter 8, just to let you know what we have coming up. Letter 8, Christ explains the reality of men and women, how to live within the laws of existence and come into a state of harmonious, blessed state of being, in which all things are abundantly provided, health is restored, and joy becomes a natural state of mind. Every individual can reach this interior state of blessedness, and peace will then become the norm. Thank you all so very much for joining me, and I will see you again very soon for the beginning of letter 8. And until then, I love you all very much. Take care of yourselves and take care of those around you. And I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye until then.